Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is propagating peace. It's all too easy to get sucked into the sorrow, despair, fear around the circumstances of the world. And what we need to look at is, how is that contributing? How is that making a difference? And we're going to explore what it looks like to be creating space for peace to occur, for a massive transformation on the planet, and how we can be feeding that rather than the perpetration or the perpetuation of the horrors that we're present to in these moments. So it should be a very interesting and hopefully inspiring conversation. And good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us. It's great to be here with all the rest of you who are joining us. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present, right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome. So we're present to all kinds of war and the horrors that attend them. If we've been watching the news, and this has been ongoing with Ukraine and now with Israel, and also with Armenia, which is something I had no idea about, and is not making the news in the way that the Israeli conflicts are. And I think it's easy, particularly as we see these things, these horrors on the news, in the media, to fall into deep despair and fear and rage and resignation and the whole spectrum of emotions. It's easy to succumb to that. And particularly those of us who are committed to bringing light to the world, to growth and transformation, and creating a better world, are sensitized to the happenings in the world. And it's very easy to fall into despair. And what I want to say is that our despair doesn't help. That our fear, that our anger, that our resignation, that our hopelessness, whatever those feelings are, they are not helpful. And this is an interesting conversation because we're kind of walking a razor's edge, because we're not wanting to deny what's so. It's not about pretending that everything's fine. What I'm talking about is using our energy toward those things that we revere or that we desire, like peace. So rather than focusing on the lower frequency energy of despair and hopelessness, certainly it's going to come in waves. Grief comes in waves. Emotion comes in waves. However, we also have the ability to deliberately concentrate our energies and attentions toward propagating light, to propagating peace, to presencing love, to presencing connection, to be expanding that energy rather than feeding this energy of separation and conflict. And it may seem counterintuitive to be, maybe not even counterintuitive, maybe that's not the right word. It may seem Pollyanna to not be immersing ourselves in the devastation that exists. And the thing that we get to know is that the polarity of light and dark has always existed, at least in human history, where there have always been atrocities and there have always been people serving to make transformations. There's always been good. It seems to me, and I don't know that this is true, you get to check in with yourselves around it. In fact, I don't know that anything I say is true. You get to be the arbiters of that. But it seems to me that there's an acceleration of both the light and the dark, that there's an increasing energy of polarity. And the thing about polarity is that it's two-sided. You can't just have one. They both feed each other. And the idea is that we need to get to another plane of presence that unifies those oppositional forces. And there is no right side to choose, because any choice is going to perpetuate the polarity. So what we get to do is to come to a unifying place. And what presences that unification is the rising of frequencies, is presencing ourselves and emanating peace, unification, wholeness, oneness, love, presencing those frequencies, they're higher frequencies. And as we presence them, they emanate. We become broadcasting stations And right now there's a lot of broadcasting of heavy frequency. And not to say that there aren't horrors, there are. And what we get to do is to, rather than feeding that horror energy, let's feed a higher energy. If rather than feeling hopeless and helpless, finding a place within ourselves of peace and presence, and then emanating that, sharing that, sending it to places of conflict in the world, is something that we can actually do that is positive. It's a doing of being. It's a shift of being. And that's what is called for on this planet, because even if we're able to stop the war, or even if a war is won, it's not won. It's not, there's not, look at the cost. It's, if we look at the whole concept of war and conflict, it permeates our whole culture on so many levels. It was very interesting. A while ago, I had a conversation with a group where we were looking to address ways in which to, or ways of being in which to transcend the patriarchy, because the patriarchal system that we exist in at this time is a system of conflict, of separation, of competition, of what's mine is mine and what's yours is mine, kind of type acquisitional mentality. And it was very interesting in this conversation about cultivating awareness. One of the people said, well, that's a hill I would die on. And I said, well, that is an important thing to look at, that phrasing, because it's just an indicator of how deeply entrenched the model of battle is in our culture. Like, we take war for granted. Like, of course, we're going to bomb them to oblivion and that's going to solve the problem. Well, it's never solved the problem, and it's never transformed the dangers. It's never eliminated the dangers. What it tends to do is accelerate the need for defense, for it accelerates a climate of fear. And then we spend untold amounts of money on defense, right? And on weapons. And we squander people's lives fighting for freedom. And this is a model that we have just embedded in our culture. We're going to fight for our rights. We're going to combat evils, right? And one of the things that we discuss and that we've talked about at length is how resistance reinforces the thing that we're resisting. And so I'm not saying lay down, but I am saying Let's elevate the conversation. Let's elevate ourselves. And the more we elevate ourselves and emanate that higher frequency, the more impact it's going to have in the world. And it is a way that we can actively engage, not in resistance, but in this transformation, that we can hold the space for it, that we can radiate the frequency where this just ceases to exist ultimately, because it can't sustain. If we're in a place of wholeness, if we're in a place of oneness, there is no battle. If we are all connected and we're all one, then we won't be trying to destroy each other, and we won't be treating others as others. We will be recognizing them as extensions of ourselves. That in recognition of our connection, it's like cutting off pieces of your own body. When we look at business, our model for business in this country is also based in battle and challenge, and the way we set goals, and the notion of just do it without being connected to what the bigger picture is and what the ramifications are, and being able to be part of a system of wholeness rather than a system of domination and control, which has been kind of our operative conditioning. And so I don't know if you've heard about the experiments that have been done with meditation, where I don't remember the specifics, so if anybody has access to those specifics, it would be awesome. But in certain cities, there were a bunch of meditators that got together to meditate and to propagate peace. And what happened was that the crime rate dropped precipitously. And there was a measurable change, an undeniable change through those meditations. And so our dear, dear, dear Ruth Anderson, who is the founder, the driving force, the genius behind Enlightened World Network, is creating a peace meditation or a peace day on October 30th of this month, October 30th. Enlightened World Network will be gathering EWN hosts and meditators as we come together to create a strong, energetic presence of cascading peace. Meditations, music, and more starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And so I invite you to clear your calendar or some time on your calendar for October 30th to be able to participate in this peace action. And you don't have to wait. Please don't wait. But collectively, we can amplify one another's intentions. So Rosalind says when 7,000 people do it, it reduces a certain percentage. I've heard interesting, I think it's if 1% of humans on the planet got together and at the same time, I don't know if it's true or it's not true. But I know we can affect change. And I know there are more and more groups that are collectively meditating for peace. And so the difference, the thing I want to talk about regarding prayer, because meditation in its way is prayer, right? And I was speaking with a friend who is a Christian Science practitioner, and they said that within the Christian Science tradition, prayer is an opening for God. And so often in our orientation, we pray out of desperation. Oh, please make it go away. Please, 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 change the situation. It's pleading rather than praying. And where apparently in Christian Science, there's an acknowledgement of all the bounty and all the gifts, and kind of presencing the desire, presencing the desired state in a state of gratitude and appreciation. And that's what we get to do. We get to presence peace. It will make a difference. At the very least, it'll make a difference for you, and you will make a difference with the people that you encounter, at the very least. And at the most, we get to affect planetary change, planetary transformation, beyond change, but like transformation to another dimension of being and awareness. So good morning, Dido. So glad to have you here with us. And so Dido says, yes, it's all day, Monday, October 30th, here on Facebook and on YouTube. So today is October 18th. We've got plenty of time to be reaching out and enrolling others in joining us. And I know that this is one way, maybe the best way, that we can actually make a difference. And when you find yourself falling into the despair and overwhelm of the things, the horrors that we're seeing on the news, allow yourself to come to this place of higher frequency, because it doesn't serve the world for you to dim your light. It doesn't serve the world for you to be consumed by darkness. All it does is it extinguishes a light that could have brightened the shadows. So be conscious, be deliberate in your energies, in focusing your energy and focusing your attention toward creating the peace in the world, the wholeness that we desire. Let's put our attention on creating that. We have the capability to do that in a miraculous way. And it takes deliberately turning your head away from the consuming horror into the creation of light and wholeness and connection and peace. And it's something that we truly can do to make a difference. So the solution doesn't lie on the material plane of who's going to win and who's going to lose. I mean, maybe temporarily, but everybody loses in war. Everybody. There are loss of life, loss of faith, loss of trust in our capacity to live. You know, it undermines people for generations and generations. We're just programmed with this idea that we fight for what we need or want. We're programmed that that's the way that life is, that we live in scarcity, that we live in opposition, that there's not enough for all of us. And that somehow we're actually different from one another to such a degree that some of us don't deserve to be here. It's craziness. We're part of a collective craziness. And we need to find our way out of that. And the way to do that is to move to a different plane. So that's it for today. Let's propagate peace. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And I'm so grateful for these times to share together and to grow together and to remember ourselves together. And until next time, so much love to you.